Thank you for joining us today on HxGN TV. I'm your host, Rob Mott, and today we're discussing cybersecurity for computer-aided dispatch with Cameron Smith, who's the Director of Security Solutions for Intergraph Government Solutions. Cameron, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So with the topic, the integration of cybersecurity with computer-aided dispatch, it sounds like a very complete and secure solution, but for the audience, would you be able to just give us a general overview of what cybersecurity is?
Sure, Rob. Cybersecurity is basically the security of your IT solutions, and that's basically protecting them from intrusion, from viruses, and the idea behind cybersecurity is to basically protect those systems from any kind of theft of data or corruption of data, things like that. And notable hacks that have happened in the past kind of show us that we need to have this cybersecurity type of profile.
Like for example?
Target had their financial data stolen, or people's financial data. Sony had emails, things like that taken. And another one that a lot of people had never really heard about was an ISIS-inspired person stole data from a warehouse or a uniform shop on police officers in New Jersey. And the purpose was to get those names and their addresses out to lone wolves to, hey, attack cops, basically.
Wow. So these threats are obviously a cause for concern. What are some of the typical requirements that U.S. public safety and federal organizations work by? So
there's two kind of different sets of requirements here. So for the public safety world, there's HExagon, which is the FBI arm, and what they do is they provide wanted data, criminal history data, things like that to law enforcement agencies. So they're the ones that run NCIC, which is the National Crime Information System. Right. And so their requirement is that you have to have your system locked down. It has to have certain kinds of protocols like password protection, things like that. And then with the FCC and the next gen 911 that's coming out, and the I3 standards, that's the standards for next gen. There's requirements for security, because it's all IP based. And then on the federal side, they have a process called risk management framework. And so that's their ability to lock down their systems in various areas, not only secured systems, those that have top secret information, but those that have sensitive or things they don't want the general public to see.
Okay. So in order for organizations to work within those requirements, what are some examples of some industry best practices?
So the first thing you have to do is you have to have a policy, and a lot of times, at least in the public safety world, that's something that some agencies have strong ones, some have some weak ones, and I think that's an area that can be beefed up. And so you have to have policies that say, what kind of password protection you're going to do, what's your patching schedule, how often do you scan your systems, are you actively monitoring your system for hacks, can you see intrusions, and if they do get intrusions, how do you react to those intrusions, that kind of thing. And on the federal world, they lay that all out with the risk management framework. And so it's a three-tier in the public safety world, and in the federal world, it's a 6-tier. And it's basically establish your policy. After you've established that policy, make sure everybody knows what that policy is, and then go ahead and enact that policy. That's kind of the 3 steps. But the federal government takes it a little further with the respond and then react, and then you go back and you start the whole cycle all over again. It's much like in the public safety world how you respond to like a natural disaster or some sort of a mass casualty thing.
Okay. Great. So given these guidelines and the broader set of information, what are some specific concrete steps that organizations can take today?
So the first thing they need to do, and it goes back to that policy thing, you need to develop policies that need to be very well defined. Those policies need to be a risk-based policy, meaning that you look at your vulnerabilities and you gauge the risk versus what kind of functionality are you going to lose when you go to implement these policies. And it's a balance. So you don't want to lock down the system so much or have people have to have 30-character passwords that are reset every 5 days.
Right.
So it has to be something that's reasonable but still protects the system. And then once you have those policies in place, like I said, you promulgate those out, And then you have to come up with, you know, a reasonable schedule where you're protecting your systems. And what I mean by that is you're going in and you're patching on a regular basis, you're getting the latest Microsoft patches, and HExagon support page at the HexGon Safety and Infrastructure page shows what Microsoft patches are available and have been certified against the system. And so public safety agencies need to keep an eye on that and make sure they have the latest patches done. And then on top of that, make sure their virus software is updated and that they're scanning their systems on a regular basis.
Okay, great. So I understand that IGS recently achieved Milestone See for the Marines for the Intergraph CAD system that's deployed with that agency. Can you give us a little bit more background on that?
Sure. The program is called CERS, which is Consolidated Emergency Response System. And what CERS basically is it's a response to the Fort Hood findings. You recall there's been several shootings at Fort Hood. And after the first one, the Department of Defense put out requirements to all 4 arms of the armed forces that basically said you need to have E911 mass notification and some sort of a response system. And so the Marine Corps response to that was CERS. And they did a competitive procurement. IGS won that. And so part of that process was achieving Milestone See, which is a weapon system acquisition. It's just the same process that they use for tanks or whatever, and we were able to get that approval, which now is going to give us that ability to do the rest of the bases. So basically, we had 4 bases and all the engineering that went into the first part of it, and now that we've achieved Milestone See, we can move on, and it's a certification. Any of the DoD arms can use it to purchase our system now. I mean, we're approved. We've been approved through the RMF or DICAP process, which is that cybersecurity part. And we're on the Navy's list of systems, if you will. It's called DATUM. So.
Great. Well, that's fantastic news for other federal agencies, Department of Defense organizations. So congratulations on a job well done with the CERS achievement.
That was a lot of work.
And for all the information you provided us today, certainly a lot to consider, and appreciate your time today.
Oh yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you for watching HxGN TV. For more information on Intergraph Government Solutions, please visit intergraphgovsolutions.com. For more information on HxGN TV or to watch additional episodes, please go to hxgntv.com. Thank you.